How do you feel about Navalny?
Well, he is also an oppositionist who ended up in prison.
This is a fact. What is your attitude to this?
Well, he tried to create, like Putin, a strong opposition.
Do you think he was trying to create a real opposition?
Probably yes.
Why are you smiling slyly? Then I want to know what role we play here. Are we furniture or what? Are we the opposition or are we just sitting here? Maybe Danila knows. Have you heard the expression checks and balances? What do you think this means? Okay, what do you think if a person is given unlimited power? What will happen to him? How will he manage it?
He will not manage as he wants since his power is unlimited.
That's it. That's why they invited checks and balances. Even in the times of kings, people quickly realized that there should be a change of power, simply because after 10 years people already begin to look at neighboring lands. This person already understands the limitlessness of his power. He believes that he can do anything.
In order to be in a managerial position for a long time and not got used to power.
Whatever it was, let's say, intoxication with power. Why has Mr. Putin been in his position for how long? 25 years?
Quarter of century.
24 years.
We won't talk about Medvedev now. Everyone understands perfectly well that his role in this is fictitious. Why does this happen? It is really because the people really choose him. I didn't choose. I can speak specifically for myself, but I won't speak for everyone. I can speak for myself and for at least 100 other people who didn't vote for him. But nevertheless, do you think this is the people's choice or fiction?
Second opinion.
Now I want to find out from Sergei what he thinks about this.
In some ways this is still the people's choice, because part of the population voted for him anyway. He was chosen by those people who he was happy with as president, people who saw improvement in certain regions.
What do you think? Are the stories about election fraud true or false?
Well, perhaps they are true.
Yes, so I'll tell you briefly how I went to the elections as a somewhat observed person, how I went to the polls. I'm in a hurry from work because the polling station is already closing. I'll literally rush into it. Election day is already over, 15 minutes left. I came in and show my passport. The girl opens a notebook and begins to write down my data there. Well, I do simple mathematical calculations. I count 20 lines in this notebook. She only enters my data there. I say, girl, turn out 5%. Answers 6. How did you guess? Well, I divided 100 by 20 and multiplied by 1 and I got 5. She says yes. Fine. I cross out all the candidates. I go to the ballot box. I think 5-6%, and at the bottom of this glass box there is a neat bundle, probably 200 sheets. I looked at it. All the sheets lay so conveniently. Somehow 200 sheets stuck exactly one on top of the other when they were thrown there. Next day I see 28% voted for the governor. Miracles. Miracles. For the whole day, 5% came. I left 5 minutes before the polling station closed. And then everyone else, apparently 20% of voters, rushed in. And everyone threw the ballot so beautifully that the sheets stacked on top of each other. Ideal elections. I can wish this to everyone.
Interesting discussion, but initially I asked about the opposition because This decision does not actually make any sense, because there is no alternative. There is no alternative in the elections. Let's think about this question. An alternative to Putin in the elections. The alternative is either in dead. But at least theoretically, could this be an alternative now? Will there be elections in Russia now? No, there is no alternative now, because no one will simply be allowed in.
So, in principle, there was no alternative. I don't remember the moments when Putin had an alternative in the elections. That's it. It simply wasn't there.
No, how is it? Why was Lebedev killed? Now, Danila, I want to hear more. Is there an alternative? Are there any options at all?
Everything is set up. Everything will be rigged in his elections. At the moment, there is no alternative. I don't know. Most likely it will be set up. As Putin said, he will rule the country. He will rule over it. He tried to ensure that there were no elections during the SMO, but the people rebelled. As a result, there will be elections. He wanted to do this so that he could remain president. And he will do what he can to remain the president. And Medvedev in 2009 was a fictitious president. Putin controlled him like a puppet. Putin will remain president for now until someone drops him, and that's it. And why did Ksenia Sobchak run for president? And what? It's better to let her be, it seems to me.
It couldn't have been worse, I'm positive.
Yes.
If Sobchak were your president...
Yes, damn,
This
I
is
don't
the
know.
very precedent that there is a change. It doesn't matter who the president is. He just is. Doesn't Sobchak have a sluggish opposition?
They are all sluggish, but there is no one worse than Putin. You can take a janitor from the street, and it seems to me that he will not do such a thing. He simply will not be able to do so much evil due
The
to
same janitor
unprofessionalism.
whom the hog is waiting for if something happens. Well, do you remember how Simonyan said that the janitor who works behind the Kremlin walls is also waiting for the hug? The janitor was shocked. Do your propagandists want to send everyone to trial in the Hague? Everyone, yes, everyone, necessarily. What can you say about this?
As Goebbels said, we will all hang together. Well, everyone will have their own level of responsibility. Let's put it this way. Yes, how much authority he had, what decisions he made. He will be responsible for all of this.
Yes.
Exactly the same...
What powers? I understand what Simonyan should be responsible for, but what should the janitor be responsible for?
The janitor should not answer.
Want to answer? Yes, no one will force him to answer for uncollected garbage. Putin announced some kind of denazification. Well, first of all, Sergei, Daniil, can you explain to me the meaning of this term?
I don't even know how to understand correctly. Can you please clarify for me so that I can understand the question correctly? If this genocide of humanity...
Just answer, what is denazification? Putin said, we are announcing a special operation for denazification and demilitarization. I am not asking about demilitarization because it works completely differently. What is denazification?
I don't know, honestly.
Fine. What is the purpose of the SMO?
The goal of the SMO is liberation of civilians, as they say it on television and writing on the internet. Honestly, since 2018, I have only seen the news. I have only been on the internet, on social networks.
And you were released?
Yes.
Why did they want to free civilians? From life, from houses, from work?
As they say, it's written and shown it's all because of Nazis. Due to the fact that Donbass is eligibly being shelled by Ukrainian soldiers. And since 2014, shells have been falling, as was shown to us. And in our prison, when educational activities were held, they showed us who Bandera's supporters were. They showed the RDK, showed us how they crossed into Russian territory and shouted, "Glory to Ukraine." And they talked about all this, and they showed how prisoners were treated. To be honest, I don't believe in this attitude towards prisoners. To be honest, they treated me well. And I don't know what will happen next.
One doctor told me an interesting story. He's a prisoner of war. He says they filled the woman's mouth with foam. I ask, how did you find out about this? He says that she was brought to our doctor and she told. I'm serious. Do you have any idea
Original.
what polyurethane foam is? Can you even imagine what it's like to fill a person's mouth with foam? Do you even understand how the ear, throat, and nose are connected? How long can she even live after this? He doesn't know what to answer me. A person with medical education will believe this nonsense.
Did she tell him this directly with foam at the mouth?
I don't
or
remember
was she
exactly how
pulled
it
out
was, but
first?
she definitely lived for a considerable time after that. So maybe it was just whipped cream. Okay, Sergey, what can you tell me about the SMO and denazification?
Denazification, in my opinion, meant when I heard these words, that's meant. But what did he even know? That there has been a war in Donbass since 2014, and the population suffers from military personnel from Ukraine, shelling, artillery, and aviation. These units need to be destroyed. This is demilitarization, and denazification is also related to this here.
Why did this need to be done specifically?
So that civilians do not suffer.
Wait.
The right words. This is exactly the information I know.
So that children don't
So
suffer.
that the population located in Donbass does not suffer.
And Donbass, okay. Here there is Russia and there is some conditionally neighboring land and someone is being oppressed there. Why should Russia interfere? Are Russian speakers being oppressed? So why not take them home? Good question, let him answer.
I can't have all the information.
This is understandable,
What
but what do you
kind
think?
of agreements were there regarding the provision of assistance to those who were in the Donbass and fought? Somehow,
So in fact, you haven't thought about it. Why do it this way and not another?
such decisions are made by someone.
No, I'm not talking about solution. Just how did you think about it? Or didn't you think, but just did it?
At that time, I was not there. I was in my military unit.
I wonder if Putin decides tomorrow that Russian-speaking people are oppressed in the Baltic countries, in Kazakhstan, where there are many Russians, that troops will need to be sent there to denazify
I
someone.
hope this won't happen.
Or in China, for example.
We hope that it would not happen what is happening now, but it happens. Everyone sincerely hoped that this would not happen, but nevertheless you are here and we are here. We left all our houses, some had families, some had wives. We left everything behind and came here.
Don't
Some
think
on their
that we
own,
came
some
here to
not.
live our dreams. Each of us has created a lot of problems for
Some
ourselves.
say that we came here for big money. Let them tell me where this money is so that I can take it. Oh, no money? So I won't get paid, right?
You have been deceived.
But were any contracts signed? Aye.
The guys created a lot of problems for themselves and their families in order to simply live with a clear conscience. And then to tell our children and grandchildren, if we survive, that we did the decent thing, fought for the truth and did a good deed, instead of going to kill our neighbors.
So that later everyone doesn't have to listen to fairy tales from the bunker
Yes, and my children
grandfather.
are not ashamed of me, and I'm not ashamed of myself. I'm not ashamed of him, and he is not ashamed of me. We can always calmly tell in our conversation why we ended up here. And why we are not traitors to Russia, but its most loving sons. We want our motherland to live free and worthy. One more question. Have any of you wondered how much money Russia spent on the war?
No.
Information for 2024 suggests that at that time Russia spent 167 billion, if I'm not mistaken, dollars.
Would it not be cheaper to bring everyone who is being oppressed to Russia and give them housing?
For a three-story
Wouldn't
house.
it be cheaper to build a 3-story cottage and resettle them there?
Moreover, there is a lot of good land there, plenty of land.
Empty land. Just an empty land, not free but absolutely empty. Why did he choose this particular path? Why didn't everyone who was conditionally oppressed be evacuated? Why is this all very reminiscent of Hitler's propaganda of his time? Only there the Germans in Austria were oppressed and there was an urgent need to help them. Troops came in and helped. Not similar situation.
Most of all, it seems to me, and I am not the only one who thinks so, that there is a purge going on in Russia. Prisons are emptying. As soon as the prison is filled, the prisoners are immediately sent away. Will you notice who is fighting? Who is fighting in key positions? Prisoners. He has 2 Mondays to live and he's walking with a machine gun.
It would be good if they at
Here
least
they
gave
are
me a
all.
machine gun.
Just look who is fighting in the Second Army of the world. The majority of prisoners, even if you look among the prisoners of war, the majority of them are prisoners. How many of them died there? How many of them are still there? And how they are talking about Putin allegedly removing prisoners from key positions. Interesting, right?
Where
there
are they
will
being
supposedly
taken
be a
out?
regular army. Home, that's it. They're going home. They still have a year of contract and he's already bringing them
Well,
home.
yes, and the
The
wives
regular
of those
army will
employed there
fight.
complain that there is no rotation, that they've been fighting for a year and a half now. They won't let them go home.
Yes,
but
yes,
for
yes.
some reason,
And
the
if you
prisoners
talk to
are
the
sent
mobilized
home.
ones, I was talking to a guy here. I asked, well, how do you like it? He says, I really enjoy it. Why? And I was sitting in the rear eating cookies. They gave me money. I went to Russia on vacation. And I asked him
And that's
if he
fine.
understands that people like us, digging positions for the Ministry of Defense, simply died there. 150 people entered our position, and in 3 days, half died. What are we fighting for? We have never even seen Ukrainians. There are those in positions who have never seen Ukrainians. You just dig with a shovel and dig. Why are you digging? Under the position of Ministry of Defense. Overall, a great plan. And dugouts for them were made with 6 sheets each. Just 6, so that it doesn't break through. So that he sleeps soundly and doesn't wake him up. I don't know. It's just that when my friend, we were from the same prison, we weren't exactly friends, but it was still a shame when he died. He died under a machine gun just like him.
Which one of you is more of a Nazi? That's what I wanted to ask.
Probably me.
Wait.
Why you?
I don't know. I've been told a lot about Ukrainian soldiers. But if you compare them and me, I'll be like a black speck, because I have more anger in me. Do you understand?
I understand perfectly
I
well.
consider myself a Nazi because I accepted the information that they are Nazis. To put it
To him.
bluntly, when I accepted this information, I insulated them with it. And when I realized that this was not so, I realized that I was no longer a Nazi.
Honestly, this is one of the most profound answers I ever heard. Huh?
Well said. And the most important thing is that you understand this.
These
you
are not
understood
just
all
words,
this.
seriously.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So you have something human.
Yes, absolutely, right.
You see. And you say,
Sergey, do you think we look like Nazis?
You?
Yes, or just
Exactly you?
Western mercenaries in the CIA.
instructors from NATO.
Blackwater.
That's
I
right.
haven't heard about Nazism and fascism since the moment we crossed the border.
Why do you think they say on television that there are a lot of Nazis here? Like, they almost hang children here. Mein Kampf lies in every house. Why is all this being told?
Something need to be shown.
Something needs to be shown.
What, something else can be shown?
Don't know.
It seems to me that when Prokopenko starts speaking on REN TV, it's terrible.
Do you think this is just inciting Hearted in order to justify this whole operation?
And who
Certainly.
turns
Who's
out to
a
be a
Nazi?
Nazi? What are the things of the Nazi state? What are the things of Nazism and things of fascism? And for some reason it turns out, probably by accident, that the current Russian Federation falls under all these criteria. There is a cult of the supreme leader, contempt for any kind of minority, national, political, and so on.
To the LGBT community, how things have gone lately.
Well,
LGBT
yes,
people are banned here, I heard, right?
No.
Do you mean
despite all this, the most interesting nuance is that half of the parliament are representatives of the LGBT community. Remember the late Zhirinovsky, to put it mildly, he was an unconventional character, and the current Khabarovsk governor began his career.
Mr. Degtyaryov?
Yes,
He also has boys in panties there, right?
he had the first best.
Why in panties? Well, Mr. Zhirinovsky had a panties on. He swam in the pool with them.
So there is a fight against minorities, there is a certain ideology that is imposed, there is a supreme leader who rides naked on a horse, worshipped by lesser chiefs. From Africa they come and dance to
5
him.
minutes of hate on TV.
Yes, hatred of everything that does not correspond, so to speak, to the official point of view. This is really a Nazi fascist state. The state lives by the principle that it is good, the best, and everyone around wants to capture, destroy, conquer Russia. It doesn't really look like the rest of us need it. Do you see how the Second Army of the world is fighting? How long do you think it would last in a conflict with NATO? Be honest, are you a career military man, Sergei? You must know something about it. How long do you think it would hold out against an installation that fires from 1,500 to 5,000 cruise missiles in one salvo? Just against cruise missiles. I'm not even talking about aviation. If Russia has an aircraft carrier like Chester Nimitz or Eisenhower, do you think there is?
No need for aircraft carriers. They have their place.
Do you know that in Russia there is such a legendary ship as Kuzya?
Admiral
Kuzya,
Kuznetsov, yes.
And when this ship passed the English Channel, the whole of Great Britain was simply covered in smoke and smoke. And Kuzya was traveling at a speed of 9 knots, as much as 9 knots. Just so you understand, 9 knots, the speed of the Viking Drakkar that existed 1,000 years ago. In principle, if Kuzya had rowed, it would have come out at the same speed. Then Kuzya arrives in the Mediterranean Sea to support the group, which is, of course, fighting terrorism, right? What else can it do in distant Syria? There really is a very interesting story with terrorists. This is not the format of this program, but one day I will tell our viewers how terrorism appeared there. And now the Kuzya arrives there with a huge aircraft carrier group, as many as 4 planes, can you imagine? 4 planes. Remind us that American aircraft carriers have from 70 to hundreds of aircraft. And of these 4 carrier-based aircraft, it lost half without a collision with the enemy. Can you imagine? There were 4 fastenings, 2 not very reliable. They broke off, 1 plane rolled out and fell into the water and the pilot ejected. And the second pilot decided to fly with not a very large supply of fuel, until he was given further instructions in the decision-making center. And while at the center of decision-making they were making a decision...
Can't be.
Yes.
Sorry.
There was an air base about 80 kilometers away, but he was told to wait. And in the decision-making center, they made a decision, and while they were making it, the fuel ran out. And the second one also fell into the water, just like that, without collision with the enemy. Out of 4 aircraft, we lost 2. This is the beauty and power of Russia, the legendary Kuznetsov. There is no need to go to war. There is no need to mobilize and go to Ukraine. We'll talk about nuclear weapons. I was trained in Russia by good officers, real officers, and many of them left for Ukraine back in 2014 and stood up to defend it. I don't know how their fate turned out, there is no connection with them. If they recognize me, I really want to meet them. I'm very grateful to them for military science. So the story with nuclear weapons is the same as with this ship. It's not a fact that it will fly somewhere, fall or work. We got distracted.
It would be ideal if it took off and immediately fell.
It's like a video with mortars. The soldier loaded the mortar, sat down, and the charge flew out and fell nearby. Yes, he loaded it, but after 2 meters it fell. The whole TikTok was laughing.
Didn't calculate it a bit. We've been talking about 2 hours, it's time to come to the end.
But to be honest, it's very interesting to communicate with you. The last time I communicated with my compatriots, I didn't have much time to talk. And they were a little scared, not very talkative, but it's somehow easy with you. Moreover, you have been here for a long time. You see that you are in no danger here. The conditions of detention are in accordance with the Geneva Convention. Everything is human.
Is respected.
I don't know if it can be compared to a Russian prison. Better or worse?
It seems better to me.
Better, yes? That is better
It's
conditions.
just that our prisons are run by, let's say, tramps. There is such a thing as a place so the prison will live. However, they needed the one who will live well there. And here everyone is equal to each other, but there is no such thing. They live there according to prison ranks. And even a new title appeared. It's called mouse phone. If you brought the phone in secret, if you have this phone, then you still receive the title mouse phone. They are acquainted, I beg your pardon, with gays. The mouse phones are sitting somewhere next to the gays. That is according to the criteria. They are considered decent people, but they also sit next to gays.
New technologies, new orders.
What do they do? I still don't understand.
They bring phones and do not report that they have a phone.
They don't report to their elders.
How can you not report to your superiors? Yes.
Here you go.
New technologies, new
Moreover,
laws.
the larger the
Thieves
phone,
world.
the more respect. Well, because to bring... Well, you understand. Understood.
They carry them in glove compartments, yes.
Yes, interesting.
They carry them in the glove compartment.
Some viewers will understand and some will not understand.
Sergei, did you think that the Russian army is what it turned out to be?
Well, I'm used to thinking that our army is a worthy army with good leadership.
More specifically, could you imagine that in any conflict, not necessarily in the conflict with Ukraine, it would turn out that career military personnel would fight alongside prisoners, cancer patients, HIV-infected people, and the elderly?
No, I never imagined this. I didn't think this was possible.
Well, it somehow happened. What are your thoughts on this matter? Why did this happen, and is it right?
They were given a choice. They had a choice.
Why weren't they asked about this before?
I don't know such thing.
Don't you think this is already a last resort? That for some reason they cannot recruit a normal team and go to those who have no
To those
choice.
who can simply be used.
Just use. Daniel wants to talk about the choice.
I won't say that the Russian army is bad. It's really a worthy army and it just needs the right leader. One will use this army correctly. The current leader simply does not want to destroy the main stuff but sends away unnecessary ones. Whether they survive or not is all the same. The area is simply being cleaned. Where prisoners are ahead, the Ministry of Defense is behind them. Note that they don't go first, prisoners go first. If the prisoners blow themselves up,
Do
the Ministry of
prisoners have a
Defense clears
choice?
the territory. No.
Sergei talks about choice. Do the
We
prisoners
can
have a
just
choice?
start arguing now, that's all.
Let's.
Because I have been in captivity for almost 22 months. I saw a very large number of prisoners. A lot of different versions, and most had a choice. That's it. Everyone made their choice.
I'll tell you about when Prigozhin came. I caught this moment. He boards the plane right on the prison grounds. There is no one. The bosses came, Wagner took over the zone, and the bosses just arrived and stood there frightened.
There he began to say that he was not forcing anyone. This was the only one. After this, everyone was summoned and blackmailed to a time for extremism. This was prohibited. And he had the choice to fight or sit for 33 years. For extremism, they
For what
made an
article was the
article
deadline
for accepting the prison system forbidden. If you don't like something, you'll get an article. I was not forced into anything because I agreed by myself. I'll tell you that the majority now in the zones are not forced. They mainly force thieves, those who have a year left. And the rest of the people go on their own. They go because they want to. When the Ministry of Defense arrived, 800 people signed up.
Do you have any advice for them?
Recommended 1,000 times, and I'll also tell you, guys, this is not a joke. Tell the truth. What they tell you is just propaganda. I was injured. I was held here. Fed, given water. There was no torture. They provided me with warm clothes. I am sitting here talking to you, rudely speaking. Everything is fine. Nobody hits. You see, safe, healthy, unharmed. No one is intimidating. No pressure has been put on me. Don't go here because it doesn't happen once at a time. It is unknown how and where you will end up. It's scary.
And in percentage terms, how many losses did you have in exact numbers?
I'll tell you this. They brought us dozens of people into positions. 150 people arrived. Every time we would lose someone, we entered the position. One bomb landed and everyone died. That's it. Nobody knows the commands. Prisoners have virtually no training. One guy told me that they were running through the forest with a stick. They gave him a machine gun only at positions, and he doesn't even know how to use it. He did not know how to disassemble a Kalashnikov assault rifle. Even now I don't know how it works. They gave it to me, I jam it, and that's it. I have encountered some types of weapons, and now they gave me this machine gun and I don't even know how to disassemble it. Soldiers do not train prisoners. If they get to the Wagners, it's another matter to at least teach them how to shoot, but there's nothing like battle tactics.
Okay, if a prisoner refuses to go to a position, what next?
Do you mean on the first line? If he refuses, he is killed.
So, this is not a myth.
No.
What does it look like?
They assemble a group and the commander say that we are going on the offensive. If someone says that he won't go, he will ask him 3 times. If the answer does not change, then he will take him aside. No one will tell you that you are being taken to be shot. They are simply sent to report somewhere. He went and didn't get there. That's it. Or they'll just take the Wagners to train, how it was. They brought one Muslim to us, because he threatened to punch his commander in the jaw if he touched the guys.
And they brought him to the Wagners as penal colony, it turns out.
No, like in a penal colony, they also came to us, but they trained with us. And these were bros so that we could train on them. We were careful not to faint.
I was a doctor. We were trained. They took the cable and wrapped this guy's arm around him and blow him up. I need to run to help. Limb separation.
In what sense did they blow up?
We train on it.
They created a situation in which he suffered massive bleeding and you need to tighten the horizontal bar there.
Turnstiles and
They
harnesses.
simply created exactly
This
the
is no
situation.
joke.
They
Several
took
people
it
saw
and
this.
blow it up.
They just blow it up. We ran up and looked. After everything, they simply shot him. We waited for the chest to inflate.
How did he behave at this time?
But when a limb was torn off, he screamed, and he lay there calmly. Just lay there. He didn't say anything, didn't pray. After the limb was torn off, he screamed for 5-10 seconds and fell silent.
Can you tell me what his name was?
I don't even know his call sign, because he was from a different branch and unit. I can't know even among my own people, I only know a few. We were just training.
I'll repeat the question. This is currently the Russian army. Is this how you imagine it?
No.
Is this a worthy army?
They kill their own people. I understand that we are prisoners, but first of all, we are humans, right?
But you're a part of the army.
Of course, but we have to call the shots. I'm not afraid of this, even if I end up in Russia. Let them judge me. I will stand by my words because it happened. There were 6 of us who saw it, 2 guys and 3 seniors from the Wagners who are here now, saw how they were blowing up and dismembered. Everyone saw everything, and they trained doctors on them. I personally was trained like this, and I tore off a man's limb and trained it on him. I saw how to properly apply a tourniquet to an artery. There is simply no arm, the artery is hanging. What to do with this? An artery is like rubber band. That's it. If a hand is cut off, the artery is gone. And it turns out that his shoulder was torn off, so that it was hanging. At first I didn't understand how it was, but it was hanging. That's it. They told me that it needed to be bent so that it would not come apart. Or you can use a pin to wrap it up and tighten it. All sorts of different.
How did you feel?
At first I felt uncomfortable. The first time I fainted. When a man's leg was cut off, I fainted.
How does a man who has had his leg cut off feel?
Yes, calm, yelling. They cut off his leg, he's screaming,
Was he being
screaming a
held?
bit and got calm.
They were not holding him.
No. No one
He knew
held
that
him,
his
he lay
leg would be
quietly.
cut off and
He
he
knew
lay
where
calmly.
he was going. He knew that he would be killed and dismembered. They lay
For what?
quietly. And for some misdeeds, he had a sister who escaped from a training camp. He decided to run away with a machine gun and a weapon. He is a traitor. He was sent to us. This is how they treated him.
And then they bring him back and tell him to lie down?
His broken fist taken in hard. They just
What's
put
next?
it down and it just lied there. The tape
No one's
was
holding him.
removed from him.
What does the man who chops off a leg come
Nobody
with?
is holding him. There was an axe and machete. There were also small axes. They were specially given blunt axes. We were taught with blunt axes that you can't cut them with 2 blows. You had to hit him 10 times to make him suffer, so that you can see how he suffers. They prepared you this way, they broke your psyche. We then came and were immediately told that they would break your psyche.
Did you
Yes,
personally chop?
I cut off his arm, leg and head. I had no choice. You can't say that I'm some kind of killer. They would kill him anyway, and I didn't want to lie down next to him.